Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's episode of Advanced Bass Fishing, and much appreciated you guys checking out today's video and spending some time with me. And guys, today I want to have a little conversation about the length of cast you make, as far as how far you cast, because the length of your cast has a ton to do with your bait manipulation, whether or not a bass strikes a lure, the size of a bass that strikes a lure, and it's really one of the most underrated topics, or you don't hear anyone ever talking about it. So I'm going to give you guys some tips and advice on that in today's video. Also, guys, before we get started, a quick reminder that Silverbat has got this get ready for summer sale right now, and they got my signature series Silverbat sunglasses 30% off, and you can get the prescription lenses the same way, 30% off. Just use my code RandyB for free shipping if you order it. I'll put the Silverbat website link in the description if you guys would like to get you a pair there. So I really appreciate that. Okay, one of the things about if you're gonna be an above average bass angler, attention to detail is everything. And one of those attention to details is the length of the cast that you make. That is probably one, I'm going to put that probably in the top 3 of the most overlooked aspects of bass fishing that people just don't pay any attention to. But it has tremendous amount to do with whether you get a strike or not, or the size of the fish and everything that goes along with that. Now, first of all, let's talk about why this is important. Now, first of all, more than anything else from what I have seen, looking back at all the big fish I've ever caught in my life, with the exception of the big fish I've caught flipping and pitching, most all of the big fish that I've caught, like on, any type of lure besides flipping and pitching, has come on a pretty long cast because the bait gets out farther away from the boat. And bass are very aware of your boat. They can hear the trolling motor noise, they can hear the electronic pings, they can feel the vibrations of the boat moving in the water. And the farther you can cast, for the most part, as long as you can do it accurately, and again, it depends on the cover you're fishing, the better off that you're going to be. That's probably the number one thing. I always like to make the longest cast I can, as long as I don't sacrifice the presentation of the lure or the efficiency of the lure. Now, sometimes when you're determining how far to cast, let's say, for example, let me set this scenario up. Let's say we got a nice lay down tree in front of us, maybe 150 yards, you see this big lay down tree in the water. Now, before you can determine the length of the cast that you need to make, you have to decide the lure category you're using, because some lures you simply can't make an accurate presentation unless you're a little bit closer, and in correlation with the water clarity too. You always want to make longer casts in clearer water than you do dirtier water, simply because the fish are more wary in clear water. So if I am targeting this lay down tree, I first have to say, okay, what is my technique? Do I want to throw a spinner bait along the outside edges? Do I want to throw a Zara spook along the outside edges? Do I want to run a spinner bait through the branches, real thick in there? Do I want to pitch or flip? The technique is going to determine how you want to do it, because one of the things about, let's say you decide to flip and pitch that tree, you don't want to make too long of a pitch and flip where you lose control of the feel of the bait as it's fallen and its ability to free fall, because the longer pitch or flip you make into a piece of cover, the more drag that you have on it, the more line that's in the water, and you can't have that vertical presentation. So therefore, on a bait like a jig or Texas rig creature bait or something, you need to have the bait a little bit closer. Same if you're throwing like a square bill crankbait in some of the tight areas of the tree. You're going to have to be closer to that lay down tree in order to get that angle and to make your accurate presentations. You can't do it from 30 or 40 yards away. So that's going to determine the distance. Now, if you are throwing some type of a bait on the perimeter of it, that's when you can make your longer cast. You can make your 50 or 70 foot cast, if you're coming around the outside edge where you don't have to penetrate that cover. So that's one example. Every single piece of cover has a different application, whether it be a boat dock or a grass bed or a stump in the water or a lily pad field, whatever it is. But the main thing that you have to take into consideration is the water clarity that you're fishing, the lure technique that you're fishing, and the ability to have the most lifelike accurate presentation. because most of the time, if you cast too far out there, if you're not throwing like some type of a retrieval bait, like a spinner bait or a crankbait, you're not real efficient with that. You lose contact with it, and you can't really manipulate that bait like you can on a shorter cast. So it's always a balance. There's no right. It's not like you need to make long casts all the time, or you need to make short casts all the time. Everything is situational based upon those factors and other factors that include like current and wind, sunlight conditions, shade, where the shade's at, a lot of different factors that go with that. Main thing is practicing. It's like the only way that you can really fully understand how to do this is to do it. I can sit here and tell you about what you're looking for and what you need to do, but you really have to feel that. You have to feel when you make that long cast out there, you have to feel what that's like to have a lot of line in the water, or you have to feel what that's like on a short cast to not to have much line in the water, and how to control your bait and how the bait reacts with different lengths of cast. Because anytime that you're casting a lure with monofilament or fluorocarbon line, you have an element of stretch. And the longer the cast that you make, the more stretch is going to be a factor in that cast. So the stretch factor has a lot to do with your hook set and your ability to fight the fish and the reaction time on that lure. Because let's say, for example, you got a jerkbait on, and you throw that jerkbait 20 foot by that seawall or something. When you're jerking that jerkbait with 20 foot of line out there, the reaction time is going to be a lot quicker. In other words, you're not going to have to jerk the bait quite as hard to get the bait to react. But if you make a 50 or 60 foot or 70 foot cast out there, it's going to take a lot more of a reaction, or a lot more of a jerk to get the bait to do the same thing with the line stretch. So that's all that's a factor that goes in with it. Main thing about the video, guys, is just be aware of it. Just be aware and try always to make the longest cast that you can without sacrificing the efficiency or the presentation of your lure that you're fishing. And that's really the best advice I can give you with that. So anyway, guys, hope it helps out. We'll talk later.